Hey guys, this is Chris Napoltz.
And this is David. We are
Drop Disgusta.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, we are powered by Amplified Events. To learn more about the great work they do, visit ampyourevent.com.
We would also like to thank and welcome our digital marketer, Aaron Talent.
If you're a fan of the show, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Drop Disgusta Podcast.
And whatever you're doing this week, make sure you hashtag drop the dis.
Here's the show.
Hey guys, we're here with Drop Disgusta.
Welcome to Drop Disgusta.
And I'm Chris.
And I'm David.
And we're here to talk about something great.
So the first thing we're here to talk about is how great you look today, Chris.
Oh.
Why do you look so great right now?
Well, I look disgusting.
You look fantastic.
Purple
you are
has
wearing
never looked so bad on
the
me.
most royal color combination I could imagine.
Yeah, well, it happens. It happens.
You're sitting here wearing a beautiful jersey.
So
We're drinking
I'm just
some
going to cut them
liquor.
off. We made a bet.
We made a bet
on Friday. And that bet was if Florida beat, and I said when Florida beats.
Yeah, you did say win. I bet you regret that.
I don't, because it was a great game.
It was a great game.
It was probably the best game that's happened so far. It's better
sure.
than Big Ten.
Best game in the last 5 years.
Anyways.
Better than any Big Ten game I've ever seen.
So we'll get there while we're saying all that in a little bit, because he can't talk right now.
You can't talk. You can't
But
talk.
anyways, so I'm wearing an LSU jersey because Florida lost to
Congratulations.
LSU, and Vegas was right. We lost by 14.
Vegas is scary, dude.
It's
13.5 point
It's almost
spread.
like, it was scary. They have like an almanac that tells them, kind of like a movie that came out a long time ago. Probably when our guest was born. But,
Before me.
anyways.
That's kind of mean, I think.
From me?
Yeah. Let's keep going, though.
Okay. But anyways, so I'm wearing an LSU jersey. So, David, what did you do this weekend?
I didn't do a lot this weekend. I DJ'd a wedding while simultaneously watching the LSU Florida game. Don't tell the bride. I drove to Atlanta to visit my girlfriend, and I drove back Monday morning because for some reason I like driving.
Wow, you must love.
She doesn't listen to the podcast, so we don't have to kiss her butt right now.
Okay. Well, I as well went to Atlanta.
Yeah, that's right. We missed each other. We barely
We did,
missed each
yeah.
other.
I was visiting my wife's family. My nephews and nieces is the best thing. I can be an uncle and give them back.
And you don't have
Love
to
on
actually
them.
have the kid.
Yeah, love on them.
Yeah.
And then hand them back. But
That's the perfect role.
Yes, we enjoyed that weekend, and now we're here.
So actually, speaking of here, where we were at WeCo Studios,
Yep.
which is we're in front of a green screen. We've never done this before.
Right.
We have lights bearing down on all sides.
blind.
We look phenomenal.
Well.
You're probably a little bright.
Yeah.
Not in the intelligence way, in like physical way.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
And we-
I'll just be at your, I'll just say whatever you
And
want
we're
me to say
drinking whiskey right now.
Yes, we are. And it's from a local group here called Augusta Neat. And Blaine, who is the founder.
Blaine Richoux.
Blaine Richoux.
Richoux.
Who is also an LSU fan.
Great guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he has hooked us up with Fiddler Unison.
Fiddler.
Fiddler Unison.
Let's drink the Fiddler in unison. Let's
It
cheers
is,
to that.
Yes.
Cheers us.
Cheers.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay.
Right over the mic. That's going to be loud.
It is we call it a local corner distiller. It's from Atlanta. And it's
this is really good.
It's a craft bourbon, which is a blend of high wheat and high malt bourbon. He has provided us all these tasting notes.
Chris is reading off a cheat sheet right now.
Of them, yes. But the still is a twin copper pot still. And,
Which means...
really? You don't know the difference between a pot still and a column?
You're reading off a piece of paper. I can't
He
see
can't
the piece
tell
of
me
paper.
why. He can't tell me why. Anyways, fun fact... It began as an American spirit whiskey in 2011 and is the second legally licensed distillery to open in Atlanta since Prohibition.
Fun
That
fact.
is pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
all right, I guess.
And our guest here loves bourbon.
And Atlanta.
Both.
Oh, there we
Both.
go. And we heard him for the first time, so let's go ahead. Who are you?
Yeah, who's our guest?
I'm Jason Craig from Right here in Augusta. I live in North Augusta, but I claim Augusta.
All
There
right.
you go.
And you claim the Braves.
Sure,
Even though
that's
you live
my
in
home
South
team.
Carolina.
Well, I'm a Cubs fan. I'm gonna stay that. Like I'm a Cubs fan, but the Braves are the home team because
Okay.
I live here.
Well,
so.
you cheer for the team that'll win the championship, and then you
Right.
cheer for the team that's near you.
Yeah. No,
You don't cheer for the team that loses, 10-0 in the first inning. So I'm a fan, and it sucks to talk about, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
my
especially
gosh.
to the Cardinals because that's the Cubs' rival. So
Yeah, that's a. Ooh, I didn't know that.
But I do like that the Nationals are going to go to the World Series without Bryce Harper.
Amen.
Yeah, I think
Amen.
everyone in
That's
the whole
nice.
That's
state-
some poetic justice there. So,
Yes.
I think we can all,
He moved on to better things, and they got better.
And he's at the house. Yeah, so
He's at the house.
He's at the house watching the Nationals play now, so that's a good position for him.
This is a really strong start right now.
Yeah,
love
talking
it.
about Bryce
So-
Harper, has nothing to do with anything.
I love it.
So, Jason,
Yeah.
what do you do in Augusta?
So I am a graphic designer and artist.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing that since I've lived here since '98, and it's all I've ever done. I've been a creative in Augusta ever since.
But you weren't born in '98. You haven't lived here your whole life.
No,
So
just my-
what happened before Augusta?
So I grew up in Illinois.
Okay.
So
which is why we're making fun of the Big
right
Ten earlier.
Right, which it was the Big Ten reference. Which to be fair, before we started, I was ripping on the SEC. So you kind of asked me what my favorite SEC team was, and I was like anybody that's losing to the Big Ten is my favorite SEC
Which
team.
is no one.
Which is what, Kentucky?
Right, and then I said until basketball season,
Yeah,
and then
until
everybody
that's
gets
true.
real quiet.
Yeah.
I don't know if Illinois is a great basketball team, but
Man, they
we'll
went.
let you-
They went to the
Ripping
final
on
game
him,
in
man.
2006, I think.
Really?
Yeah, and played North Carolina.
I remember about I couldn't tell you how many years ago, but Illinois was undefeated in college football through like 7 games.
Yeah.
And then they lost the next 7 games.
It'd be like that.
So from Illinois,
Yeah.
what did you do in Illinois? How did you get into the design business, the design world?
So I was always like creative, which
Okay.
growing up in Illinois, you're either a farmer or a factory worker.
So you're one
not-
of a kind in Illinois.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, very rare thing, and it's not exactly like. It's not every mother in Illinois' like dream to have their son come home and be like, "I want to be an artist."
design
They're like, "Oh no!" I thought you were going to drill holes in sheet
Design
metal
this
like a
corn,
good
boy.
Yeah, right. And so that's what I wanted to be, but that's not. There's no other. When I was growing up, there's no other creative.
Sure.
And so I ended up moving away. I ended up. It snows there. I hate shoveling snow. You
Came
know,
to a
I
good
can-
place.
Yeah, and so I
You came to a place where if
only
there's a
3
flake of
seasons here.
snow,
Right.
we close down.
Right, and when I say snow, I don't mean like in a Norman Rockwell painting. I mean like black, dirty, gross snow that sits there for 6
Yeah, up
months.
to your waist,
Up to your
you
waist,
can't
and
drive.
then there's a puddle underneath it, so that whenever you step through the snow, your foot gets
You
wet.
get wet and cold. Yeah.
And so it's not fun. And so then moved. Just knew I was going to move away because it's just there wasn't anything there for me really.
Once you step in enough snow puddles, you just have to move away.
Well, it's just one. Just once you step in one. Yeah. Once
step
you
in your
step
first snow
one,
puddle,
you
you're
step
like,
your
"All right,
first
I'm
snow
done."
puddle, and then like while you're standing in that snow puddle, you're like looking, and there's like this big chunk of black, like this big chunk of ice, like a bowling ball sitting in the middle of the road, and like. Who knows where those even come from, But, like trick-or-treating in the snow is like a very, like, it just makes life not fun.
It limits
It's
the
something I've
costume
never thought
options.
of, honestly.
It limits the costumes.
I had the same thing whenever I moved down here. I'd never seen a pumpkin that had like bees flying around it, and so it's like goes both ways.
Probably
like,
no bees.
not right now. They're all dead, and so there's no mosquitoes, there's no bees, there's no nothing. But
There's no slutty Catwoman costumes in Illinois.
No, it's all it's
Sweaters.
It's a lot of warm
Right.
Catwoman
Slutty
costumes.
sweater.
right. Yeah, it's like slutty Eskimo.
Yeah, a slutty costume in Illinois is 3 layers instead of 5.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Can you see my undershirt?
Right, yeah. Carhartt doesn't make a mini skirt, and so that's just not the way I really wanted to live.
Okay.
And so, I figured out from about 3rd grade. I remember my social studies teacher said that there's kids in America that have never seen snow before, and like of the other 20 people in my class, they're like, "Oh, that's horrible." I was like, "Where?" I was like, point on that map of the United States. Take this globe and show me where that is.
Pull down
Augusta, Georgia.
Yeah, right.
And
Hottest city in the country a couple weeks ago.
And it snowed here a few times, but nothing
like once every
real.
3 years.
Yeah, and it's just like this dust that's not even real.
Yeah. So you're in Illinois. You're creative.
Yeah.
And what were you doing?
I worked. I played sports. I stayed busy all the time. As a kid. Whenever I got a job, then I would just cruise around, and I would, on my weekends off, I would go and like buy CDs and clothes and stuff like any ballin' '90s kid did.
So you graduate high school.
Tupac.
You're 18 years old.
Yep. I graduated at 17.
Graduated
I graduated when I was 17.
And you started
I was the youngest in my
working.
class.
You said you started working with DC and Marvel, right?
Right. So I was going to college, and then I got this real lucky opportunity where I kind of became a summer intern at this guy had moved from New York back home, and he colored Justice League and some Disney books and stuff. And I found out it was like on my way to school. And so I started stopping by there and bugging the guy. And I had no idea what they did. I'd never turned on a Mac computer before. I'd never heard of Photoshop before. But I just knew that they were doing something creative. I'd never seen that before. Yeah. I didn't read comic books. I didn't, obviously I know who Batman and Superman and all that are, but I wasn't in, that just wasn't my thing.
The design came to the comic books. The comic books didn't bring the design.
At that point, I didn't even know what a graphic designer was either. Okay. I mean, to me, a graphic designer, like I had like a desktop publishing class in 10th grade where we made newsletters.
Microsoft Paint, right?
Right. Like Word,
Nice.
Like I learned, like I was on like the school newspaper and stuff, but I never saw that as like something that I would do for a living.
Right.
It was just like another thing that was just kind of computery and wasn't that difficult for me.
Okay.
And so, one day he finally he got sick of me bugging him about hiring me, and like it was funny, like those moments where like like the light bulb goes off, like I could see the light bulb over his head when he was sitting there, and they got really busy, and he's like, I was like, I can do it, put me in,
Put me in, coach.
And he was like, damn it, he's like, my employees don't bother me as much as you do, and like boom, like I could see the light bulb go off, and he's like, you're hired, get out of my face. and he did, and he threw me in this little cubicle, like basically in a dungeon, and like I just
That's
sat
like
there.
an 80s dream job.
Yeah.
Sitting in a cubicle.
Yeah, it was, and like at that time, like GoldenEye had just came out, so these dudes had like big screen TVs playing GoldenEye.
Nice.
And I just sat there working, because I was fascinated with the work, and I just kept at it, and eventually I dropped out of school because school was taken away from me.
And you were
to
going
make
to
these books.
college?
Yeah.
Where
I was
are you
going to
going?
community college.
Okay.
Like I was going to go to the Art Institute. I was going to go to University of Evansville or Carbondale, and I ended up going to community college in a couple towns over, and that it was just fortunate that I chose to go there because this place was on the way. And once I started, like it was like my Christmas break of that first year, like I could work all the time, and I made a whole bunch of money, and I was like, well, I don't need to go to college because I'm making money. Set. I'm
college
set.
is for making money. I'm already doing it.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
And so actually, and I worked there for long enough to, move away. That was pretty much it. Because my goal from the time that she said that there's kids that never seen snow, like all I cared about was not being.
So
in that.
you're in Illinois. You're coloring comic books for DC and Marvel.
Yep.
You're working in a cubicle. You got the dream job.
Yep.
What made you move to Augusta? Because there's no DC Marvel comic books in Augusta in the 80s.
So specifically, I had this dream job and everything was great, but whenever I walked outside from my dream job, like if the plow had not come, I couldn't drive home.
Yeah.
There were so many times where I just had to turn back around and walk back into work and stay the night at work.
Holy
because
moly.
there's no road to be seen. It's just fields and there's nothing.
It's something we do not know.
No, and imagine working like 12, 13 hours and being like, oh man, I did it. I did this to the point of exhaustion. All I wanted to go
sleep
home.
in your cubicle.
Yeah, and then you walk out. You don't even get to sleep in your cubicle because some guy that works the night shift is sitting in it now. And so you just got to sprawl out on the floor somewhere and just be like, I'm just going to go to sleep and I'll wake up and go back to work.
But that's normal.
It's pretty normal. I mean, I know like school kids did it, live it out in the country, like
say
sleeping at work because you're snowed
Illinois.
in. Being snowed in is a common thing.
Really?
Everybody that's lived in the Midwest has been snowed in somewhere. And I mean, you can be snowed in your own house, and that's just not how I'm trying to live.
Okay.
I'd rather be beached in.
Yeah.
And so
there you go.
I've never
Yeah.
heard of that, but
well, I'm gonna stay.
We'll
I'm gonna
make it
stay there until
happen.
yeah.
I'll go
I'll
for
figure
it.
it out.
Yeah.
I'll figure
Spring
it out.
break.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't come back home. I'm stuck at the beach.
Sorry.
So, growing up there is kind of there wasn't a lot. There was no internet. This is in the '90s. There was no internet. I mean, there was internet, but it wasn't the way we
How
use
did
it
it
today.
sound?
Yeah, I'll let you imagine how it sounds. So it was that dial up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you would you'd find like a video game and download it for like 2 days and then come back and play it and it'd be lame.
And then
Exactly.
it'd be lame.
Yeah. And you'd just be like, that was a fail.
It's a waste of 2 days.
So a lot of the influence was just like people sharing burnt CDs and tapes and stuff.
Yep.
Probably more tapes than burnt CDs.
Yeah.
And watching MTV.
Okay.
And I listened to a lot of rap music, and it was when like Southern like Outkast.
Yeah.
Whenever I got Outkast.
Oh, yeah,
And then
classic.
I got Outkast, and it was funny because I would listen to
man.
Outkast, and my friends would just be like, "Oh God, you gonna listen to that again?" I was like, "Yeah." And I put in Snoop Dogg, put in Wu-Tang Clan. I was like, "No, I'm listening to Outkast. You're in my car." And they would just give me such a hard time about it, and it was like, "Look at them now. Like these guys are never gonna. Nobody listens to this." I was like,
I played it every wedding.
everywhere. Yeah. And so like the content of it just like painted a picture of the South for me that like was really appealing, and so I just had this like desire to just move to Atlanta.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. You were like,
Yeah.
it's New York, they're all killing each other. Like in California,
It's
it's all crazy.
so violent,
But it's so violent,
Well,
yeah.
so like
and
all
then
the West Coast
Atlanta,
rap
it's like,
stuff
yeah,
is
come
real
check
violent.
out all this cool stuff.
The New York stuff sounded really cool, but it snows there.
there
Like
you
it
go.
sounded like a cool
True.
spot, and it seemed like everybody
But it
was cool
snows.
there, but it snows.
And
I'm
it's
not
cold.
trying to do that. Yeah,
And sometimes it's
yeah.
just cold there and it doesn't snow.
right. It's just or it's like raining and freezing. Yeah. So I was
Which
like, no.
would you rather?
Yeah, and they're singing about like just cruising and barbecues and doing just hanging out.
Okay.
I was like, all right, that's more my pace. And so I
Sounds
out
like
of high
country
school-
rap.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I mean, it was very
Bubba
much like what I wanted to be. And so my father's company actually, there's always the story about your dad,
Yeah.
And
it
so his
happens.
company did research, and they said that Augusta would be like the center of all the growth in the United States, and so they moved him here.
I'd be
And so,
interested to interview
yeah.
that company.
Yeah, well, he moved here about a year before me, and he was just like, "You should come check out Augusta. It's really cool." And I didn't know what the Masters was. I'd never
Sure,
heard of
yeah.
Masters, and so
No, like golf.
I
in
came down
Illinois.
to visit. No, not really. I mean, I played golf, but it was like a
Okay.
little like patch of grass. It's
Yeah.
like a little
The only
municipal
patch of
course.
grass.
Right? And so
Sorry.
and so I came down and we drove through Asheville. And I hung out in Asheville. Asheville was real cool. And then I saw a sign that was like Augusta this way, Myrtle Beach this way. And I'd only been to the ocean twice in my whole life, once to each side. And so I was like, I'm going to Myrtle Beach. And I went to Myrtle Beach for a week. And then I went, I spent a week there, couldn't get a hotel. Like we slept in the car. And I went back home to Illinois. And I think that was about whenever there's a bunch of tornadoes that came through, which sort of, made me worry because we have tornadoes like every month back home, but that doesn't bother me more as much as snow. And I hate talking about weather too. I've spent this whole time talking about weather.
So good. People are very happy
just
that they're
fascinated
in
with
the
this
South
weather
right
talk.
now.
So went back, called my dad. And he's like, "You never made it to Augusta." I was like, "Well, it doesn't matter. I'm moving." So I moved down here, just grabbed what I could fit in the car. I had like a 88 Grand
Further
Am.
south than Myrtle Beach, and there was no
it
snow
close.
there.
That's right. Yeah, it was cool enough that I was like, I'm close to the beach, and I want to be there. So I went into my comic book job, and I told the guy, I was like, I'm gonna go visit Augusta, and there's a really good chance that I'm not coming back. I was like, there's probably, I was like, I'm packing enough clothes that I don't have to come back. And he was like, well, you better finish up your work. I was like, all right, well, could you pay me? And he gave me my last check, and I didn't. That was in the end of May, and I didn't come back until like the 4th of July to get all the rest of my stuff.
Wow.
And so I just moved down here without ever having been here. But I drove down Broad Street. I saw Artist Row.
So what was your
and all
first
that stuff.
impression?
It was incredible. I was like trees everywhere.
And this was
you know.
1988.
This is 98.
98,
Yes,
okay.
it was 98. May of
Very different.
May of 98.
Okay.
It was awesome. I drove through North Augusta first, and I just remember there being so many trees and the roads were so wide because we just have 2-lane roads and they're like rock back home. And so to
okay.
me, Augusta is like the city. Like that was like a big city to me. And so I drove through, and the first thing I did for like the first like month, all I did was just explore. I would just drive around, and I would just go to everywhere, just drive down roads and just see where they went.
And you lived in North Augusta.
Yes.
And you've lived there for 21 years now.
Yeah, the whole time. I've lived basically in the same neighborhood.
Wow.
In the same neighborhood in North Augusta the whole time.
So what's your impression on, like, the city 1998 to today? Because, like, I don't have a lot of impressions from 1998.
So North Augusta specifically, North Augusta was a very small town. I mean, there was like, I remember like driving along and seeing somebody that had a goat in their front yard.
Nice.
Whenever I moved there, and now that yard is Walmart, is the super Walmart.
Really?
Wow.
They probably made some money on that.
I hope so.
Yeah,
So a lot of that
got more
stuff,
goats.
like North Augusta has really come up. It was a very small town, and it reminded me of where I came from. And it's nothing like that now. It's just like Augusta now to me. But my impression of Augusta, especially downtown Augusta, was just it's so like kind of like raw. Yeah. And there's so much opportunity, and it just seemed like to come from a place where there's no creatives to come to a place where there's the artist row. Yeah. With all the galleries and stuff. And even then there was just so many different little galleries and different people doing things, and First Friday and all that. I had none of that growing up.
So it's the artistic scene that you got here, and you were like, that's really what's anchoring.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then that just continues to grow as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, sweet. Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna talk about what you did when you got to Augusta.
Yes, that'd be great.
All right, guys, before we move on with this riveting conversation, we do want to first thank Savannah River Brewery. Savannah River Brewery has been a great sponsor of ours. They have given us enough free beer for many more episodes than we've actually used that beer for. It goes a lot quicker than you would think.
I still have some in my fridge.
Oh, well, you shouldn't have told me that.
I didn't tell you that.
But they do have some things that they want us to plug on their behalf.
Yeah, so Savannah River Brewery is doing a beer dinner. They're only selling 50 tickets, and it's a 3-course dinner, and each course is paired with one of their beers.
Ooh.
It's $55 a person. The caterer that is doing the dinner is CaterWorks Hospitality Events.
That's a local business.
Yes, it
Shout
is.
out local and it's on a Sunday.
Yeah, and the caterer actually used to work for the Hive. So, I'd say it's going to be pretty legit food.
Food should be pretty good. Food should be good.
Yeah, I'd love it if they had some poutine there.
Ooh.
The Hive has some
another
good
Canadian shout out.
Whatever. But it's November 3rd, 2019, obviously.
It's $55 a person.
Yep. And if you are interested in purchasing tickets, you can find their link on their Facebook page.
And the ticket's for one person, right?
Yes.
Guys, you got to check this out. $55 a person, 3-course meal, 3 free beers. You do the math. It's a pretty good deal. Savannah River Brewery is awesome.
Yes.
They support local, and we are local, so we thank them for supporting us.
Yes, thank you so much.
And speaking of business, back to business with our guest today, Jason Craig. We are now going to talk about, we just left off talking about you getting to Augusta. You love the weather here. We appreciate how much you love the weather. But we want to talk about what you've been doing. So you got to Augusta in 1998, is that right?
That's right. So I'll do this as quick as possible.
We can do a short version.
Yeah, short version. So obviously, because I had worked for DC Comics and I'd worked for Disney.
It's a nice resume at the age of 18.
Right, at age 18, yeah. And I had a nice ego to go with it. So
you got to if you're in the arts business.
Sure. So like I got here, like I couldn't even grow a beard yet. And
clearly a lot has changed.
I just thought like I would just like hit the ground running.
You give me hope.
There's always hope. There's always hope. One day
you have something underneath your chin.
I'm coming back.
It's getting there. And then the next thing you know, you'll be going and getting it waxed off. I got here and nobody wanted to hire me. Like nobody. Like nobody wanted to hire me. And so I was walking around like strip malls, like trying to with like a stack of resumes, and all my resume said was I color comic books. I use Photoshop.
It probably sounds a lot better in your head.
Yeah. But I just stayed at it, and I ended up getting a job at a t-shirt shop on Peach Orchard Road.
Are they still open?
They're still open, yeah.
What's
they're
their
still
name?
There. IT Sportswear.
Shout out IT Sportswear.
Shout out to IT Sportswear. Max Shields gave me a job, and we made family reunion T-shirts. We made shirts for the fort, and that's where I started. I learned to screen print there. I kind of just on my lunch break, I would go back there and watch the guys screen print because I was kind of doing a little bit of design there. I would like hand paint license plate tags.
Wow,
that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it was real awesome.
I'm sure the first month
and
or
so
two was
I
awesome.
I actually ended up getting fired from there. And so
got a pink slip.
Yeah, I got my first pink slip there. So the thing about getting fired from a job, I don't know if y'all have ever been fired from a job.
Not yet.
I've quit before.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to
Right,
get fired.
right. Like they were
So
coming
it's
for you
on
and
me.
you ran.
Yeah, no,
out.
you take your
like,
fate in your
so-
own hands. I don't want unemployment.
So getting fired from a job, you'll get over it. But getting fired from a job that's like paying you minimum wage, it's not a great job. That's 10 times worse. That's just demoralizing.
Right.
And so my life was just wrecked. But luckily, I got a call and I went to work at a sign shop in Martinez.
Martinez.
That's not. Yeah, I learned quick that it was Martinez.
Martinez.
It's no longer there.
Gentrified since the 20th
Since it
century.
began.
Yeah.
Since it got its own zip code. I went to work at a sign shop, and that's where I learned to design. Really, that's where I learned to design because that's where cutting vinyl, you learn to design things in one color, and two colors, and the decisions you make, because a person has to assemble that stuff, and that person's right there, so if you decide,
it's not like some person in China you can just send stuff off and you're like, they'll
figure it out, whatever,
Right.
But some lady hates you.
You got accountability.
Yeah, and so you start thinking about making things simple and making things very clean because that person's going to cuss you out or just give you a dirty look if you send them something that's got a big drop shadow on it or a stroke around it, So that's where I really learned the practicality of design.
Okay.
And
so you had coloring, you had design, you had screen printing. Now you're getting practicality.
Right.
Okay.
And efficiency too because we were a 24-hour turnaround sign shop, and so you had to be fast.
Okay.
So I learned that too. So I left there. I was there for a good while, maybe a couple years, and then I left there and went to Augusta Blueprint. Yeah, I was at Augusta Blueprint, and they kind of, believe it or not, I was only one strip mall over. So that same resume that I went around all these strip malls, and it was from the same resume.
At first, it wasn't paying off, but after
those
time,
things,
you're
you
getting
put
all
enough
these
of them. That's the
gigs.
lesson. You put 1,000 or so resumes out there.
They may not need you in a year, but they'll need you in 5.
No LinkedIn, no email, nothing like that. This is just some nice linen paper from Office Max.
phone
calls.
And I mean, listen,
Max.
splurge for the $14 paper.
Okay.
Right? Just get the
I'm
one
writing
that's-
this down.
Splurge for the $14 paper because I'm
putting it in my phone.
Not bright white either, a nice cream.
Yeah, you don't want to be too in people's face.
No, you want something classy.
Ooh.
And so I got the call for that and went and
Any
worked
young
for,
people listening to the show, you've already
That's
learned.
true. I mean, they've already turned this off. They were gone within 20 seconds in. So
But if they stayed, they have quality
Right.
content now. They've
right,
learned
but if
something.
somebody's parents are playing this and they're actually hearing it in the background, listen up.
Your cream paper.
With a nice. All you college graduates that can't find a job, maybe you want to go back over to the Office
Would you say
Max
for them to get
or
a
something.
cream button down or a white button
It doesn't
down?
matter because it's all about
okay.
the resume.
Oh, there you
It
go.
doesn't matter what you wear.
Take your notes.
All
Once you
about
get
the
your
resume.
call back, it's over.
Once you get the call back, once you get your foot in the door, you're done. So Stephen Kendrick, who's now the tax commissioner.
Yep.
Wow.
I worked for him for 6 to 8 years, something like that, all
was-
through my 20s.
What was that business?
So it's Augusta Blueprint, but I actually was the large format color printer person. I was a designer there. I think my title was lead designer.
Okay.
And I just made big full color prints and.
So is that a management job then?
Well, it sort of was because I had my own office out on
So
Bobby
you managed
Joe's.
yourself.
Yeah, I managed myself. Yeah.
That's the first step. That's the
Managed
first step.
myself. Yeah, and that's where I was out there for a long time. That's when YouTube was invented and all that stuff, and really learned the internet. Getting to sit out there by myself. So I did that, and then one day somebody kind of told me that maybe I should try to apply my skills a little bit more. And I was like, no, I'm
That's
good.
rough.
I was like, I'm
That's
good.
rough when someone says that.
It is, but it's rough if it's not true.
That's
You know?
that's fair.
It's rough if it's not true, and it was true.
Yeah, if you're already applying your skills and someone says that.
I was comfortable, you know, and I was sitting there comfortable. I wasn't really worried
You
about
take a risk.
that. Yeah, and I was probably like making I was pulling in like a good 22 G's a year, you know, just really
That's good for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, and so I don't know if I was making that much, but anyhow, so then
90s rich.
you know, the Metro Spirit was a pretty big deal then, and I don't think they were one of your sponsors, so, you know, then they were a
No,
big
but
deal.
still, shout them out. Shout out Metro Spirit.
You know,
They could be a sponsor
an
if they wanted to.
institution. So I saw that they were hiring this graphic designer position, and I remember the ad just being so cool. And now I understand it was just like a stock photo with like graphic designer wanted. And so, but at that time I was like, oh, that's cool.
Wow.
So I went in there, and I think that I was kind of trying to sabotage myself because I was so comfortable at my job, and I had my linen resume again, you know, same linen paper,
Nice.
you know, that good stuff.
It's still good now
oh my
to
God.
this day.
I still have some of it. It's like $14 for 50 sheets.
You ever need a job?
You know, that costs more than money. $1, you know, only costs $1, but a sheet of that paper costs like $1.05.
Ooh.
It's expensive.
More expensive
anyhow.
than money. I'm going to start using that.
So, I had my resume printed out, and at the last second before I turned it in, I had this picture, and I cut it out and stapled a picture of a bird that I had drawn, just a drawing of a bird. And I put that on, stapled it to it, and I took it down there and turned it in. And like a couple weeks
Staple
later,
wasn't a thing then.
no, they had staples.
No,
Just kidding.
That was high tech, though.
Just stapled a picture of a bird.
Like, damn,
And
you
so
got a
my
stapler?
resume, so I got this linen resume with like this like really nice classy font, and now
Okay.
you know it's filled up. You know, it goes like Disney T-shirt shop,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
sign
yeah.
shop, blueprint shop, you know. Shop,
And what
shop,
year
shop,
is
shop.
this?
2007, 2006,
Okay.
2007, something like that.
Okay.
And I took it down there, and I got the call, and you could hear all these people in this little office, and they're kind of like laughing, can't act right, you know. And they're like, "Hey, we got your resume. You know, it looks fine. We just had one question." I was like, "Yeah, what?" I'm like, "Why the hell did you staple a picture of a bird to it?" And it was like that moment, like right then, I was like, I got him, right? Like I got him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, why don't I come down there and I'll tell you all about it? And like,
Nice
I got
answer.
him, you know, I had him. And like, I don't think that I was like so bright that like I was like, oh, I'm gonna do something different and get noticed. You know, I was just being stupid, and like I was like, it was just an impulse thing. And so I went down there, and then you know they had like this stack of just a huge stack of resumes. And
But yours was the
I got
only one with
mine
a
was the one
picture
with a bird.
stapled to
Yeah,
it.
with a bird stapled to it. And so I got the job, you know, and that was the first time I actually got to work around other designers, you know,
That's cool.
and that was like cool. It was the first time that I started taking what I was doing seriously, and it wasn't just like a job.
So
Right.
how long did you work with them?
I was there for 4 years.
And what was your position?
So I started out as junior designer. Like there's 3 of us. I was the low man on the totem pole, and then
Okay.
I became the senior designer, and then the creative director position opened up, and I had to apply for it, and I got rejected.
Nice.
And then I applied for it again. I got rejected again.
Nice.
And then I guess after a nationwide search that
Third time's
you
the
know,
charm.
third time was a charm because I don't think they could find anybody cheaper than me. And I got the creative director job and almost
Nice.
immediately hated it.
Nice.
Almost
So that means you have a
immediately
good
hated
job.
it.
That means you have a good job.
That means
if
you have a
if
good
you hate
job.
it, yeah.
It was the first time I got paid pretty good, and it was the first time that I was like, I made a mistake. You know?
Yep.
I mean, I remember sitting in meetings, and like it'd been 3 months, and I was just looking out the window at my other designers, and I was watching them design stuff, and I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Like I want to do that job. I don't want to do this job. Sitting in this meeting talking about like profit and loss and all that. you
So
know?
how long were you in that position? You said 4 years?
2000.
No, I was in that position for like 2 years, I think.
Okay.
You know, being senior designer.
Okay.
Or no, I mean being creative director.
Okay.
And you know, of that 2 years, I probably spent a year and 9 months in meetings. The other 3 months, I probably spent out back smoking cigarettes.
Two kids.
Yeah. So you know, I really, you know, I was proud of the work I was doing, but it just wasn't the work I wanted to be doing.
Okay.
You know, so
So you ended up leaving.
I left there, yeah. So, you know, it was like, that was around 2008, somewhere in there where the economy kind of ate it. And,
Yep.
you
You're not
know,
the only one
things-
to talk about 2000.
Yeah, well, I mean,
No,
it just
yeah.
was what it was,
Yeah.
you know. And so
they come in, they're trying to cut costs.
Cutting everything, and just through all that, I was just one of the casualties of that. They were laying everybody off, and in the end, I actually, as one of the managers, laid myself off.
You laid yourself off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is
Very noble. Tyron Matthew would have done that.
I don't recommend it, but I did, and fortunately enough, where Stewart, it was warehouse then, had moved downtown like right before then. They had moved their office downtown, and I thought that was a really bold move. And I had seen their work before, and they had really cool stuff, and I'd been in their old office and all that. And I had friends that worked there, but I thought that moving downtown was just sort of like a really in-your-face type of thing.
Yeah.
Because an ad
you were
agency,
already downtown.
I was already downtown. Yeah, I'd been working downtown for years.
And why was it in your face?
Well, because that kind of work you could do on the outskirts. You could do that anywhere. You could put that in
So it's like a bold
park.
statement. It's like, we are successful.
Right. It really is, because a lot of ad agencies at that time were out in industrial parks.
Yeah.
Just be cheap as possible.
Right, be as cheap as possible, low, they're worried about the square footage, get it down to 10 cents a square foot or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and through that, where Stewart, warehouse at the time, just like, we're moving in, and I remember driving past that on my way to work, and I didn't think, like, I want to work there. I just thought, like, hell yeah, we need some people, like, with some balls like that,
Yeah.
And so whenever it was winding down for me at the Spirit, I just like went down there and took a shot at it. And Daniel actually told me, he was like, I was one of the only designers that wasn't like sniffing around for a job, and he's, and I was like, well, I had a job I liked.
Yeah.
I liked being at the Spirit. It just, the circumstances
The Spirit was
changed.
a big deal back then.
It really was.
We were talking about this. I mean, people used to literally use the Spirit before everybody had nice internet, before the smartphones. Yeah. People would just sit there and open the Spirit, and that's how you determined what you were going to do.
And
I mean, it was a big deal.
But like every week, it was like, oh, what are we going to do this week? How are we gonna,
get a Spirit?
And we would get people actually like excited about stuff.
Yeah,
you did a good job doing that.
Yeah, you guys were the promoters
we worked
of
with
Augusta.
some great people. We worked with some really great people there. But then it ran its course, and it was a little bit at that time. I feel like it had like a real '90s model, like the office was wild. I mean, it was we were in an old bank, and it was just it was just too, like, it was just in the wrong time.
And it was 2008 by this time, so it's not '90s anymore.
Right. And so,
so you end up leaving your job.
So I left there.
You put an application in at Warehouse.
Well, what I did is I made a ridiculous resume this time.
Did you staple 3 birds?
Here's what I did: is I'd never had any kind of like pure design job before.
Sure.
I mean, I colored comic books, but I never had a job where it was like, make logos.
You circled it.
Ideas.
You did the whole circle.
Well, what I did is I printed out a thing that just had my name as big as I could make it on a sheet of paper, and then I just listed like my favorite movies and my favorite bands and my favorite sports teams.
If you're about to graduate,
do not do this.
No, don't do any of it.
Or do it.
No, listen. I have broken the key off in all these locks.
Unless
you
have
can't do this stuff.
Unless you have the work
this
experience.
Worked for me, it will not work for you, because everybody will be like, "No, I've seen that before. Jason Craig did that."
Yeah, unless you have the work experience to back it up.
You know how whenever you see the bum,
you had 10 years,
right? But you know how when you see the bum, it's just like, I need beer money.
Yeah,
you're like, haha.
Yeah,
it works the first time.
I saw that on Instagram.
It doesn't work. Right? It doesn't work
one time.
It doesn't work the second time.
Yeah.
It's like, I saw
dreams be dreams.
It doesn't work twice.
Who was that?
So
nobody.
I gave him that absurd resume, and they actually did. They called me, and I didn't miss a day of work.
And you gave them your resume, your absurd resume, your bold resume on the last day that you had at the Metro.
So as the story goes, I gave it to him on Thursday, and I started work on Monday. And so, and then I was there for 6 years. I was there 6.5 years.
And you were their designer.
Senior designer.
So what was your favorite thing you designed there?
Shoot. Man, so that was, understand that, like, that was, like, an incredible opportunity where I got to travel. I got to hang banners on Madison Square Gardens. I got to put up billboards in Times Square.
That's
I got
incredible.
To have my logo, like, photo shoots with Taylor Swift. Like, I mean, just
my wife is jealous.
Like
that's
the stuff that I got to do there.
But she doesn't listen, so she's not.
You're right. She doesn't.
But also, we got to rebrand Augusta University. You know,
That's cool.
Really?
Yeah, and
Did
before
y'all
that-
do Augusta or did y'all do GRU or did you do both?
Well, so we didn't do. So this was kind of like I won't get too far into this, but I was kind of tasked with making people like GRU, and I was like,
Tough job.
I did it for like a year.
Don't get me started.
I did it for like a year, and I was like, yeah, we're getting some traction. You know, people are starting to just accept it, right?
Yeah,
And I remember
just
getting that
shove down
phone
their
call.
throat,
I remember
yeah.
getting that phone call, and it was like a Sunday night or something, and like they're changing the name. I was like, I don't want them to change the name. I was like, I worked so hard, you know, and I was like so happy with what I was doing. I was like, all right.
They're like, hey, guess
All
what?
right, whatever. But you know, we did we did all that Augusta University stuff in a very short amount of time. Everybody came together in just an incredible way where like it was like it was probably the most well-oiled machine I've ever been a part of. It was crazy. I mean, everybody had their role, everybody did their job. The team was incredible, and like we just did it, you know, and it was cool.
Okay.
But it was such a huge thing that like I don't think most people would understand. You know, it was like building the Ark twice.
That was huge. They spent like $1 billion.
It was crazy.
That's like government money.
So that was,
It was.
but you know,
yeah, literally it was.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying.
but you know, I got to work on so many cool things for so many local people. Indian Queen, you know, we named that place and
Really?
did all the stuff
That's
for them. Riverwatch Brewery, did all that stuff. You know, just a lot of really cool local people that we got to work with. You know, we did a lot of stuff with safe homes. You know, just like
Yeah,
nonprofits we got to work with, and then just to segue in, we rebranded Westabu Festival, and then
You went to work
and
there.
I ended up going to work there.
So when you say rebranded,
So whenever we took on Westabu Festival,
when was this?
That would have been like 2010 maybe. I mean, a lot of that stuff kind of blurs together.
I get that. So that was about 9 years ago, though. You still have
Yeah.
some time to make up.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess so. So we got that, and whenever we got it, it was brand new, but it was really like, what is it? You know, it was like there were like 160 events, you know, and like some of them were like a lady playing a harp in a living room. You know, I mean, it was just
Yeah,
really
you gotta
what literally
blend everything
was.
together,
right.
but make it
so we're like,
individual.
yeah, there were so many events, and everybody like you could get like $500 to go do a guitar solo, you know, and it was really kind of all over the place, and so we kind of got it into these 5 genres of music, dance, art, film, and spoken word.
Okay.
And that was the branding that we did for it. And that was actually when we were still down at the other spot. That's when we were still warehouse. But we did that, and then you know, nonprofits kind of, you know, they don't all have the most amount of money, so
Sure.
they ended up going and working with another agency, and after that, you know, kind of ran its course, then I got hired to be their full-time designer.
Okay.
You know, and it
So
was
you
just
went to Westabu in 2010.
No. I went there in 2016.
2016.
Yeah,
okay.
I was at Ware Stewart a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were at Ware Stewart for, what is that, like 7 years?
Yeah, real close to
7
7
years?
years,
Okay.
yeah.
And then you went to Westabu in 2016.
Yep. I was there for 3 years.
You helped them do...
So being one of three full-time employees, the only designer.
So Westabu is 3 days a year, 4 days a
5.
year, 5 days a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have your
Which
VIP
one of those
and then
we
you have
did?
your Sunday.
Yeah, which one of those we did? It was a 10-day, and you know, that was the thing. It's like you spend the year planning, and it's crazy.
So you
seeing how
spent the
it
other
goes.
360 days a year planning for the festival.
Planning, we would do stuff like I came up with like the Westabu 10 that we'd send out like with monthly events.
Okay.
And then we had the gallery. They're still down there.
Yeah, the gallery's
And so
still
we would
there.
have First Friday openings, which is really a cool thing to think that like whenever I drove into Augusta, the first thing I saw was, you know, the art galleries.
Yeah.
And you know, now I'm a part of that.
Yeah.
That's
You
cool.
know, I mean, that's
And you
a
worked
really
with
cool
Christy.
thing. Yeah, with
So
Christy
shout out
Gilson.
Christy, friend of the show.
Christy and Bethany, you know, and you know, worked with them for 3 years and put together the festival, which it's crazy, y'all. It sounds like it's easy, but putting together a
don't think
festival
it sounds
with that
like it's
many
easy.
events, it's insane that it even like.
Well, putting
is
it
possible.
together and then advertising it
Well,
and then doing all the design.
we
and all that.
we went to this year's Westabu.
We went to Magic Giant.
And
Yeah,
we went to
cool.
Magic
It
Giant,
was
and then went to
great.
the after party, and it seems easy to enjoy
Well,
it, but to see
here's-
the back.
I mean, they brought
background
the
of what's going on.
beatboxing saxophone
Right.
guy
Yeah.
from Chicago.
But it's
I mean,
it's an emotional roller coaster. So what happens
sure.
is you start out the year and you say, who do you want to get? And you say, okay, I want to get Beck. somebody calls and they go, Beck can't be here. And then you say, okay,
For real, get Beck?
Sure. I
You
mean,
gotta-
say
you gotta
anything.
start-
I mean, you
you
start
gotta
with
start-
whatever you
I
want.
would
That's
like
the
to be
thing,
on
is
this
that you
team,
try
be like,
everything.
let's
You don't start out saying you want the, whatever. You start out, you say, I want Beck, I want the Black Keys.
Yeah.
And then you figure it out, and you're like, okay, the Black Keys want $1 million, we have 20,000.
Okay,
But
now
what
we-
happens is
So we
like
move
these
down,
people,
yeah.
you get them, and it's like for months, you're like, okay, here's who we have, and that's set. Then your mind, we've taken care of that. And then 3 months before the festival, they say, oh, hey, Hall & Oates is going on tour, and these guys are going to go with them instead of coming here. Or they're going to Austin City Limits instead of here.
Gotcha.
And then
see
it's
how
like,
the roller
and then
coaster
it's like,
starts
oh
happening.
crap, well, who it
So
is?
now you have to replace something.
So you got to replace somebody, and then it's just the cycle repeats constantly. And so by the time that you actually start getting people locked in, my joke was the only people that you knew for sure would be Bethany and the Southside Boys, because everybody else is like, maybe they'll be there and maybe they won't, and you would like write their name up on the board. But every day when I'd come into work, I'd be like, we still have a 5-day festival in the fall. What has changed since I left? But it changed constantly, so you couldn't really get emotionally attached to anything.
So you worked with Westaboo for 3 years. So that brings us to 2017, 2018?
2019.
2019. And what are you doing now? Because you don't
What
work with
are you
Westaboo now.
doing?
What am I
now?
doing now?
Let's
do you
work
do?
together.
I work for everybody now.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's both good and terrible.
Hold on, time
Right?
out. What kind of resume do you need to work for
A
everybody?
very nice linen one. You
Really?
need to have the
linen
most
one?
expensive.
What did
paper.
you
No.
staple to it
So-
this time?
Well, this time I had to actually get a website. JasonThe29th.com.
Hey, can we stop there
Wait,
for a
wait.
second?
What's
Sure.
the website? One more time.
I have two. So you could just go to crunkfriday.com and that'll get you there. That's the one you want to
anybody
hear.
that
Yeah.
it knows what crunk
That's
actually
true.
means,
That's
you
true.
want to go to that one.
So yeah, that's the one you want to go
Crunkfriday.com.
to. So I have my design business and it's just under my name. So it's I work under just Jason Craig, but my website's jasonth29th.com. I also work with a group of artists at a co-op studio called Pink Slips down here on Jones and 13th Street. We've been in there for like 3 years now, 3.5 years.
Wow.
And so we screen print, we paint, we have art night a few times a year.
Okay.
And we do some art shows together.
How do people get in touch with Pink Slips?
Pink Slips has its own Facebook page and Instagram page, so you
Okay.
can find them through there. And you won't necessarily be talking to me because we're kind of like
It's a co-op.
co-op.
So everybody's working together.
But not in like the hippie sense of co-op.
Sure.
Like,
Not the 80s, 90s co-ops.
No, we just all kind of bring something to the table and occupy the same space and,
That's cool.
and share the rent.
Okay.
Awesome. Where does 29 come from? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So this goes way back to my first internet class in high school in 1994, and they're showing us what the internet was and explain how it works. And they're like, okay, you can set up your own email, right? And I was like, whoa, I don't want to just blow JasonCraig.com now. That might be important one day. I don't want to just have it in high school, so I'll come up with something better. And so
Jason the
29. So my number
Really?
in sports was 29. It's like Friday the 13th,
Gotcha.
Jason the 29th.
And you do have a...
And I still have it.
You have a ring.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I have a Jason mask ring, yeah. So, which that's what I get. I get that, or more often I get Craig from Friday. More people call me Craig than
Okay.
Jason, which I don't understand.
No, I get that. People call me my last name.
Yeah. So, so that's where Jason the 29th comes
Okay.
from.
I was
But
wondering.
yeah, so I work for myself.
And that is your Instagram handle.
That's also my Instagram handle, which I did a lot. I did I did focus groups, and I polled a lot of people, and I was like, should I come up with a cool design studio name? Should it be, Jason Craig Design Company or whatever? And everybody was like, nah, just do you. Just keep it simple.
It's the 21st century.
Yeah, they're just use your name. And so yeah, it's funny that all the way back in 1994 when I was like, oh, I don't want to waste that. Now I'm still using that from 1994. And honestly, Jason Craig is a wedding singer in New York, and so that domain was taken anyway.
Oh,
That sounds like either a diet plan or
That's
a Jenny Craig,
Yeah, Jenny Craig is actually my aunt.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
She's my aunt too.
Wow.
Is that right?
No,
No,
just kidding.
he's
I am
lying.
too.
I'm lying.
I am
Okay.
too.
Okay, we can
So
all
you're
lie.
doing your own thing now. You
Yes.
work for the city of Augusta. You work for the world. What is it that you're doing though?
So I'm a graphic designer. I do illustration. I do branding. I do artwork, murals, public art.
You did the mural on at Indian Queen.
Yeah,
Didn't
I
you?
did.
Yeah,
So
I did
you
one at
branded
Indian
them, you
Queen.
named them, and you did their mural.
So I can't
The
take
big three.
responsibility for. I was on the team that branded
Sure,
and named
sure,
them.
yeah.
But yeah, I did a mural for him. I've done some shirts for him. Steven and those guys are great. Love working with those guys. Yeah, so I did that. I've done murals downtown. I did the Get Up Augusta mural.
What's your favorite mural? Do you have a favorite mural?
In Augusta. So I secretly used to sneak over to Atlanta and do a bunch of murals in Tech Village.
And you said you did a Braves. You did work for the Braves.
I did a Braves
right?
poster recently.
That's awesome.
The Braves hired me. That was cool.
R.I.P. Braves.
Yeah, you know. It wasn't because of my poster. I know that.
No, it's not.
That's probably what got them there.
It might have been.
No.
So my favorite mural that I've done, I actually did some murals inside Lamar Millage Elementary School in Harrisburg.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was cool. I got to work with these little kids, and these kids were like tiny little kids.
Right.
And they were the smartest people I've ever been around.
Really?
I mean, it's crazy. It was crazy. Like,
Are you
adults,
smarter than a kindergartner?
Not these guys. These kids are geniuses. And so, like, a lot of times I paint in public a lot, and adults basically ask the same couple questions, you know, and they just ask, like, how'd you do that, you know, and or, you know, what does that mean?
What do you do and
yeah.
how'd you do it? What's
Right,
it mean?
yeah.
The big
Let me
three.
see your resume.
Right, yeah, let me see a resume, cuz. And so, the kids would just sit there and they would talk to each other and they would explain to each other what I was doing meant. And like a lot of times I was like, they're smarter than I am. They've thought about this more than me. And that's the purpose of it. You know, the purpose is for them to get something out of it. So that's probably that's the best mural. My favorite mural that I've done is over there at LME for those kids.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So,
All right, so we're going to take one more quick break. We appreciate all of this. You have a lot of depth, which probably goes into your art as well.
I'll be 40 this year. I hope I've learned something.
Dude, you looking good. What are you doing?
Well, I got waxed. I got my ears and nose waxed before I came here, and so that helps a lot.
Wow, our show really means that much to you?
Boy.
Yeah, I did it for the show.
Wow,
I did it for all the
incredible.
people sitting at home,
Incredible.
listening in the car.
Well, guys,
I thought
go
it was the
ahead
linen
and
paper, you know?
go ahead and thank this man.
Seriously.
But we'll be right back, and we're going to talk about our final question.
Quick thank you to our audio sponsor today, Amplified Events. Amplified Events has been raising the bar in entertainment in the CSRA since 2014. Not only do they provide DJ and MC services, but they also do professional lighting, photo booths, karaoke, game show hosting, and just about anything that your next event needs. Check them out for your next event, be it a wedding, corporate function, or private event, because they will definitely amp up any occasion. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram at Amplified Events AUG, by phone at 706-810-0267, and online at ampyourevent.com. That's ampyourevent.com.
And we're back.
All right. So, Jason, we always have a question that we ask everybody.
Yeah.
One single question.
One question.
Same question?
The
The
same
question. For
Different
months.
answers. Different answers.
I hope.
What does dropping the disc from Augusta mean to you?
Hashtag drop the disc.
Drop the disc, like the drop the disgusta.
Drop it.
Well, I think that disgusta is one of those things that it's just kind of an antiquated thing, you know. And if like you're still on that, then you know you're gonna get left behind. And I think that's the thing is like if you've been complaining about the same stuff for 20 years and you haven't done anything about it, then it's on you.
Right.
You know, if you're complaining about the opportunities you haven't got, if you're complaining about there's nothing to do and you haven't created something to do, then you just need to look in the mirror and just be like, it's my fault. You know?
So you want to be intentional.
You have to. Well, you have to. Think about the insanity of complaining about the same thing for decades, you know? And I mean, it's not like you're complaining. You know, I complained about the snow till third grade, and then I found something to do.
And then you
about
moved.
It. Then I moved, right? And so, if Augusta is not offering you the opportunities, then there's a small town in Illinois that would love to have you shovel snow.
Right. Yeah. To tell you what to do.
Yeah. So that's what I'm gonna stick with right there. If you don't like Augusta, then move to Sullivan, Illinois, and go shovel snow.
Sullivan, Illinois.
We'll put that
I love
in
that.
there.
Yeah, I love that. Go shovel some snow.
That's it.
I love it. Thank you.
That'd be a nice hashtag.
Go
So
shovel some snow.
So if you don't like Augusta, shovel snow.
go shovel some
shovel
snow.
some snow.
But if not, be intentional. Figure out something to do because
Yeah.
there's a ton of stuff.
Yeah,
to
well,
do.
just appreciate what you have. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to drive 80 miles to go to the movies, and we didn't even know what was playing.
Wow.
You know, and I mean,
80
I
miles? Are you lying?
no, 80
80
miles.
miles.
So an hour and a half.
I moved away.
You don't have to do that here.
No, you don't
There's
have to.
multiple theaters.
Multiple theaters.
They
There's
serve
tons of stuff to
alcohol.
do.
They have reclining leather
recliners.
seats.
Yeah, and
Netflix
and if
now.
don't
You have
like it-
Netflix, which has nothing to do with Augusta, but
Yeah.
thank you.
right? And if you don't like it, then move.
There you go.
Wow. So, real quick before we go, we're pretty much at the end. You've answered all of our questions. You've done a phenomenal job of doing so.
Thank you, Jason.
By the way, I do want to kick off this part. It's the shout out time.
Oh,
I want to
shout-outs?
kick this part off by shouting out your Green Jackets jersey that you wore
Oh,
today.
yeah.
Heck yeah.
The 2018 Green Jackets jersey.
So I do enjoy living in North Augusta. We get all the perks of Augusta.
You
It's
do.
a trickle over economy. I like it.
The trickle over.
The trickle over. Eventually, we're going to drop the North. I don't know if y'all know that. That's the master plan. We're
Drop the North?
Yeah, we're going to drop the North.
It's
We're
just going to
gonna
be
Is it really
Augusta.
gonna
We're just going to be
happen?
Augusta.
No, he's lying.
Oh,
I
man.
know it's not, but hey, I do.
Augusta
I wanna hear
2.
I might get on that city council. We might drop the North. So
Forget about the disc. Drop
yeah,
the
shout out-
North.
So it'd be
Shout out
South Carolina.
Yeah, it'd be Augusta,
South
South
Augusta.
Carolina.
No, just be careful.
until we divert the river.
Crap.
And then we're gonna start diverting the river until it gets around the national.
Oh yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. There you
So
go.
we got plans over there. So shout out to all the people making progress in North Augusta. But shout out to all the people making progress in Augusta as well.
You
But
know, y'all's city planner
specifically,
just
let's see.
quit his job.
He did it all. He's done.
Great guy.
Yeah.
He brought the Green Jackets there, but he quit
did a
his
lot.
job.
Project
He
Jackson.
did a lot. And we'll get some more stuff. So let's see. Shout outs. Is that what I'm doing?
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do
shout
it.
'em out.
Let's
All right.
do it.
Anybody and everybody. This is the part where I drop names. Well, my buddy Justin, who just got married. Yeah,
Shout
Justin
out.
and Brittany got
Congratulations.
married. My daughter, Haley Brownlee, who's just on the homecoming court in North Augusta, and I got to drive a red BMW convertible around the track at North Augusta.
Shout
last
out to
Friday.
you.
Yo, shout out to you,
shout
for
out
real.
to Julie at the gym that let me borrow that car.
Ooh.
She came through right at the last minute, and that was awesome that she did that. Let's see. Shout out to my wife who puts up with me, and
Always.
and without
Well,
her, I could
all
not
of our
be my
wives
own
put up
boss.
with us.
Not all of them do. Not all of them do. Some
That's
of them
true.
Kick you right out. But
That's
mine puts
true.
up with me.
Mine doesn't exist.
Mine
No.
doesn't listen to this podcast.
Let's see. I'm gonna shout out all the boys down at the firehouse because they support me.
Okay.
And I do a Braves poster. Like they're the first people, and I'm like, I'm gonna go tell them because they're gonna be
Nice.
proud of me. So those guys are always.
Should we
like,
go?
cool.
Should we go down there?
We should go down there. Yeah, we
Okay.
should definitely go down there. And all the people that are going on this cruise with me for my birthday. We're going
When's
on
your
a
birthday?
Cruise. It's the 26th
Of this month?
of this month.
Happy
We're going on
birthday.
a cruise.
Talking
Thank
about
you. So we're going on a
happy
cruise on
birthday.
Friday.
As of this recording, we have 11 days to your birthday.
Yeah.
As of the posting day, we will have 9 days to your birthday. So happy almost birthday.
well,
almost
when you
birthday.
hear this, I will be laying on a beach in
What?
the Dominican Republic.
You deserve it.
What will you be
tried.
sipping on?
Well, if I can help it, I don't know if you know this, it's called a Miami Vice, and it's like a strawberry daiquiri
Yep.
mixed with a pina colada.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll be served in like a glass that looks like a puffer fish or something.
Shout out
crazy.
to
Hopefully
Miami
we'll have
Vice.
a picture of it, and we'll just
Yeah,
repost
send us a
it.
picture.
I will put that on. That will be the.
And we'll
cover.
repost it.
Yes, so
For sure, for you.
So yeah, shout out to those people.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, with that note, thank you so much for coming on. You have a story that is definitely worth telling. We really appreciate it.
And we've loved getting to know you.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
And so thank you for joining us. Thank you for
Hashtag
dropping
drop the
disc.
diss.